My own mother, the woman who gave birth to me, actually texted me to say she and my father wouldn't be coming to my son's 5th birthday party. The reason? Things are tight. Can you believe that? My own parents skipping their only grandchild's milestone birthday because of money. But here's the kicker, I told her, no problem. You might think I'm some kind of saint or maybe a doormat, but trust me, there's a much deeper, much darker story here, and it all revolves around a little white lie, a big family secret, and a whole lot of unspoken resentment. Was I wrong for what I did next? Tell me, would you have done the exact same thing in my shoes? Let me take you back to the beginning, before the things are tight text, before the innocent birthday party, and even before my son, Leo, was born. My parents, bless their hearts, have always had a strange relationship with money. It wasn't that they were poor, not by any stretch of the imagination. My dad had a good job in finance. My mom was a successful real estate agent. They lived in a beautiful house in the suburbs, drove nice cars, and took extravagant vacations. From the outside, they were the picture of success and affluence. But behind closed doors, money was a constant source of tension, not because there wasn't enough, but because of how it was viewed and, more importantly, how it was *controlled*. My mother, in particular, was obsessed with appearances and with maintaining an image of prosperity, even if it meant making questionable financial decisions. She was the kind of person who would buy a designer handbag on credit just to be seen with it, then complain about not having enough money for groceries. My dad, bless his passive soul, usually went along with whatever she decided, preferring peace to confrontation. Growing up, this dynamic manifested in subtle but impactful ways. My sister, Clara, and I rarely received extravagant gifts for birthdays or Christmas, despite our parents' visible wealth. We were always told to be frugal and appreciative of what we had, while watching our parents spend freely on themselves. I remember one year, for my 10th birthday, I desperately wanted a new bike. My friends all had them, and I longed for the freedom of riding around the neighborhood. My parents said it was too expensive. A week later, my mom came home with a brand new top of the line espresso machine, something she just had to have. The irony wasn't lost on my young mind. As I got older, the subtle digs about money became more direct. When I went to college, I took out student loans, even though I knew my parents could easily afford my tuition. It builds character, my mom would say, and teaches you responsibility. Clara had a similar experience. We both worked part-time jobs throughout university, barely scraping by, while our parents continued their lavish lifestyle. It bred a quiet resentment in me, a feeling that I was always an afterthought, always less important than their public image. When I met my husband, Mark, things started to change for me. Mark came from a much more modest background, but his family was incredibly generous with their love and support. They might not have had much financially, but they would give you the shirt off their backs if you needed it. Seeing their genuine warmth and willingness to share made me realize just how cold and transactional my own family's relationship with money was. Mark and I worked hard. We didn't have much at first, but we built a life together, slowly but surely. We bought a small house, nothing fancy, but it was ours. We saved diligently, always mindful of our budget, but never stingy with each other or with those we loved. When Leo was born, he became the center of our universe. He was a bright, happy, energetic little boy, and we wanted to give him everything we could, not just material things, but a childhood filled with love, security, and joy. My parents, surprisingly, seemed to embrace their role as grandparents, at least initially. They'd visit, bring small gifts, and coo over Leo. But the money issue still lingered, like a foul odor. Every time we'd visit them, my mom would make a pointed comment about how expensive children are, or how we're not made of money, you know. It was always said with a smile, but the implication was clear. Don't expect financial help from us. And we never did. We never asked. We never even hinted. We were fiercely independent, determined to raise Leo on our own terms, without any strings attached. As Leo's 5th birthday approached, we started planning a small party. Nothing over the top, just a gathering of close family and a few of his preschool friends at our house. We sent out invitations, including one to my parents. I actually called my mom to make sure she received it, and to talk about the party. She seemed excited on the phone, talking about what kind of cake Leo might like, and if he was into superheroes these days. I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. Maybe for their grandson, the money talk would be set aside. Then came the text. "Hi, honey. Just wanted to let you know that your dad and I won't be able to make it to Leo's birthday party. Things are a bit tight right now, and we just can't justify the gas money for the drive. Plus a gift, so sorry, give Leo a big hug for us. My blood ran cold, gas money, they live an hour and a half away. They drive a luxury SUV that probably gets 10 miles to the gallon, and they have multiple credit cards. Things are tight." This was the same woman who had just posted pictures on Facebook of her new conservatory and her recent weekend getaway to a fancy spa. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the reply button. A part of me wanted to unleash 5 years of pent-up frustration, to tell her exactly what I thought of her priorities, to remind her of every birthday they skimped on, every sacrifice Clara and I made while they lived high on the hog. But another part of me, the part that had been conditioned since childhood to avoid confrontation, to keep the peace, took over. I took a deep breath, and then I typed, "No problem, Mom. We understand. Thanks for letting us know." And that, my friends, is where the story truly begins to twist. Because while I said no problem, it was a problem, a huge problem. It was the final straw in a lifetime of feeling undervalued by my parents, of being second best to their image and their perceived financial struggles. I hung up the phone with a sense of quiet fury. "Things are tight," she said. "Well, two can play that game." So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I could have just let it go, swallowed my anger, and moved on. But something inside me snapped that day. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted them, let it slide, or would you have found a way to make them understand the impact of their words and actions without directly attacking them? I decided on a different approach, a subtle, yet undeniably impactful approach. It started with a phone call to my sister, Clara. Clara and I had always been close, united by our shared experiences with our parents' financial quirks. She instantly understood my frustration, echoing my sentiments about their hypocrisy. "It's always something with them, isn't it?" she sighed. "But what can you do?" "Oh, I think I know what I can do," I replied, a mischievous glint in my eye. And then I told her my plan. Clara, after a moment of stunned silence, burst out laughing. "You are evil," she said, "and I love it. Count me in." My plan revolved around Leo's birthday party itself. Remember, my parents said they couldn't come because things were tight, and they couldn't justify gas money or a gift. So I decided to make sure their tightness was explicitly, undeniably, and publicly evident, not just to us, but to the entire family. The day of the party arrived. We had a wonderful time. Leo was beaming, surrounded by his friends and the rest of our family. Mark's parents were there, of course, doting on their grandson and bringing a thoughtfully chosen gift. My aunt and uncle, my cousins, everyone was there, except for my parents. During the party, my aunt, my mom's sister, came up to me. "Honey, I'm so sorry your mom and dad couldn't make it," she said, genuinely concerned. "Is everything okay? Your mom mentioned something about things being a bit tight." This was my opening. I took a deep breath, composed my face into an expression of feigned concern and understanding. "Oh, Aunt Carol," I began, my voice soft, "it's just so sad. They really wanted to be here, but they said they just couldn't afford the gas to drive all this way, and they felt terrible they couldn't buy Leo a gift. You know how it is when money is scarce." I made sure to emphasize scarce and terrible. Aunt Carol's eyebrows shot up. She knew my parents' financial situation wasn't scarce. She knew about the new conservatory. She knew about the spa weekend. She was visibly perplexed. "Gas money, a gift," she repeated almost to herself. "But I just saw your mother's pictures from her spa retreat last weekend. I know, right?" I said, feigning a sad smile. "It's a tough situation. They must be really struggling if they can't even manage that for their only grandchild. I feel so bad for them." I looked away, as if trying to hide my deep sadness for their predicament. Later, I had a similar conversation with my cousin, and then with my uncle, each time subtly weaving in the narrative of my parents' supposed financial woes. Clara, bless her heart, was a master at the subtle reinforcement. "Yes, it's really heartbreaking." She'd chime in whenever the topic came up. "They're trying to keep up appearances, but I think they're really feeling the pinch. It's a shame they had to miss Leo's big day because of it." We weren't lying, not technically. We were simply repeating what our mother had told us, letting her own words paint the picture of her tight finances. The effect was immediate and widespread. By the end of the party, a palpable buzz was circulating amongst my family. Whispers of, "Are they really that bad off?" and "I can't believe they skipped Leo's birthday for gas money," could be overheard. My parents' carefully constructed facade of prosperity, which they had maintained for decades, was cracking. The most satisfying part, my relatives, out of genuine concern and perhaps a little bit of schadenfreude, started calling my parents. "Are you really struggling, Mom's name? We heard you couldn't afford the drive to Leo's party. Is everything okay?" The calls, I later learned from a very flustered phone call from my mother, began almost immediately after the party. She was furious. "What did you tell everyone?" she shrieked, her voice laced with outrage. "Aunt Carol just called, asking if we're on the brink of bankruptcy. My bridge club friends are asking if we're losing the house. Oh, Mom," I said, my voice dripping with feigned innocence, "I just repeated what you told me, that things are tight and you couldn't afford the gas or a gift for Leo. I even told everyone how sad it was that you had to miss his special day because of your financial struggles. I was just being honest, trying to explain why you weren't there. I thought they should know why you were missing out on your only grandson's 5th birthday. I was just so worried about you and Dad." There was a long silence on the other end of the line, thick with her unspoken fury. She sputtered, trying to find words, but I had used her own against her. I hadn't lied. I hadn't exaggerated. I had simply taken her public excuse and made it truly public, in front of the very people whose opinions she valued most. My mother, the queen of appearances, was now being exposed as either a liar or genuinely destitute, neither of which sat well with her carefully cultivated image. The aftermath was glorious in a very dark, satisfying way. My parents, for the first time in my life, faced real social consequences for their financial posturing. My mother spent weeks trying to undo the damage, calling everyone to reassure them that they were, in fact, perfectly fine, and that I had misunderstood her. But the seed of doubt had been sown. People had seen her true colors, or at least the colors she presented to her own daughter. It took a while, but eventually things settled down. My parents' relationship with me became even more strained, if that was possible, but a strange shift occurred. They started being a little less vocal about their tight finances. They even started, albeit reluctantly, offering to help out with small things for Leo, almost as if to prove to themselves and to others that they weren't actually struggling. They didn't come to Leo's next birthday, but they did send a very generous gift, wrapped meticulously, with a card that made no mention of finances whatsoever. It wasn't an apology, not explicitly, but it was an acknowledgement, a subtle raising of the white flag. Looking back, I don't regret it, not one bit. For years, I had swallowed their excuses, their passive-aggressive comments, and their blatant hypocrisy. I had watched them prioritize their image over their own children's well-being, and later, over their grandson's happiness. My actions were not born of malice, but of a deep-seated desire for fairness, for honesty, and for them to finally understand that their words and actions had consequences. It was a messy, uncomfortable way to achieve it, but it worked. My son, Leo, still had a fantastic birthday, surrounded by people who genuinely loved him and were happy to celebrate with him. And his grandparents, well, they learned a very valuable lesson about crying wolf, especially when that wolf is made of expensive handbags and spa retreats. So that's my story. It might not be pretty, but it's real. If you were on my side in this whole messy situation, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories like this, and definitely share your final thoughts on this whole ordeal in the comments section below. Do you think I went too far, or did my parents deserve what they got? I'll see you all in the next story.